I don't know how many of you are familiar with this video. It looks like a fairly young audience from here. But I remember I would run round and round and round my parents' drawing room when this video came on, usually after the Sunday morning Mahabharat broadcast. And my favorite bit was when P.T. Usha came on screen with the deer bounding in front of her. The reason I chose to play it before you this evening is not only because of my fond memories of it, but because of the way it encapsulates the two ideas of the Olympic spirit, national pride and excellence in competition. Nationalism and competitive sport go hand in hand. They're constituted by each other, the writer Mukul Kesavan has said. And part of this is obvious, you know it. So when you have the opening ceremony of the Olympics, for instance, or any of the games, Asiad, you have the national flag, every country marching with or walking with their national flags. You have sports people wearing their national symbols on their official outfits. You have the national anthems being played when sports people are on the podium and winning medals. So that one is obvious. But think also of the time when the first edition of the modern Olympics comes about. So that, the turn of the 20th century, 1896, we heard that date a couple of times today, but the turn of the 20th century is also the high noon of nationalism. So 1896 is one date, first edition of the modern Olympics. There are a couple more dates, actually many more, but I'll just take a couple more. 1904, the World Football Association comes into being. 1913, the International Tennis Federation puts its rules together. And so what happens, what we see is that as momentum is gathering for World War I, 1914 to 18, even before that, we see nations lining up, not against each other, but against each other in a spirit of competitive excellence. So lining up with each other. So these two go hand in hand, nationalism and modern competitive sport. Think also of what the end of, both the world wars and the end of World War II signifies. So aside from shifts in geopolitical territory and influence, politically what happens is that by the end of World War II, decisively, but even after World War I, it is the end of the age of empire. So you have the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, but think of the 1940s when India became independent. A whole lot of former colonial states became independent nations at the time. And as this wonderful video says, so the other side of nationalism is citizenship. So as this says, spread the light of freedom. So we make the move, we in India, many other colonial states like say Singapore, Malaysia, we make the move from being subjects of empire to being citizens with equal rights. And that's something the video shows beautifully, proud citizens. Finally, one last thing that I want to say is that think of the time when this video was made. Parth was just, in fact, asking me, when was this made? Was this 1985? I'm guessing this is not 1985 because 1985 we win the Benson and Hedges World Championship and we don't see Ravi Shastri. So I'm guessing this was recorded before 1985, even if it was finally broadcast in 87 or something like that. There's a story in the Hindu which says 87, but we had to have Ravi Shastri. But think of the 1980s, phenomenal decade for India and sport. Obviously, 83 World Cup win is the headlining one, but 84, you have Usha, heart-stopping performance at the 1984 Los Angeles Games, 400 meters hurdles, where she came fourth by 1/100th of a second. A little bit before that, 81, Prakash Padukone becomes the first Indian to win the All England Badminton Championship. 1983, I think Michael Ferreira wins his third amateur billiards championship. And finally, 1982 is an important year for sport in India. It's the first time we host the Asian Games in a big way. It's not the first Asian Games that India hosted. India actually hosted the first Asian Games in 1951, but it's done in a very, very big way. And the other thing that happens is that the 92 Asian Games are the first games that are broadcast live in India. And the act of watching does something to us. So I think everybody here, although you're much, much younger, but you're all children of the 1980s in a way, in the sense that when you saw Usha or when you saw these great sports people, actually witnessed them in competition, it does something to you. It creates the spirit of aspiration and wanting to do the same thing. So with that, I just wanted to introduce India and sport, and with that I'll begin with the panelists. I'd like to begin with Deepa first. You've already been told the Prodhanova. The Prodhanova is Deepa's only the 5th woman to accomplish the Prodhanova vault. Simone Biles, who is possibly the best known gymnast in the world today, has famously said, "I don't have a death wish," when she was asked why she doesn't attempt the Prodhanova. Deepa did a fantastic Prodhanova at 2016. Her points were, and she missed a bronze by 0.15 in the vault. Sorry. So she's correcting me.
0.015.
She missed a bronze in the vault round, right? In the vault competition by 0.015. But I want you to see what the Prodhanova is, rather than me saying that it's a handspring and then you do 2 somersaults before you hit the ground. Can we have the video of the Prodhanova, please?
उस दिन की बेस्ट वॉल्ट थी। इससे अच्छा वॉल्ट मैं नहीं कर पाती, क्योंकि जो स्कोरिंग थी मेरी अभी तक की सबसे हाई स्कोरिंग थी, और वो लास्ट ओलंपिक की ब्रॉन्ज स्कोरिंग से भी ज़्यादा थी। तो देखिए, तो होता ही है, इतने से पॉइंट के लिए मेडल है, किसी को तो 4th फिनिश करना ही है।
Always extraordinary to watch this. It's incredible. But Deepa, it's also heartbreaking to hear what you say, that the equanimity with which you say that itne se point ke liye medal chhoot jata hai, this is sport. I remember PT Usha telling me for my book, when I interviewed her, that the evening that the night that she lost the 400-meter hurdles bronze by 1/100th of a second, she said that she could not sleep, but she could not sleep because of excitement, not because she was sad, because she was so excited that she didn't know that she was so good. She said that I didn't realize that I'm among the best in the world. I don't know what did you sleep well the night you missed the bronze?
As an athlete, ये जो 4th place है, सबसे ज़्यादा बैड पीरियड होते उस टाइम। मैंने कोई भी एथलीट जो भी 4th
प्लेस में फिनिश करते वो कभी नहीं सो पाते बिकॉज और हमेशा जब भी मैंने इतना ओलंपिक देखा हमेशा एकदम और इतने पॉइंट के लिए वो फोर्थ होते और वो रोते और जो फोर्थ प्लेस है वो कभी उसको बदल नहीं सकते क्योंकि फोर्थ ही रहता है और मेडलिस्ट रहते हैं तो बस उसको हम रोके आगे उसके लिए बेटर क्या करना है वो उस चीज़ के बारे में ही सोच सकते हैं बट फोर्थ प्लेस जो होते वही उसकी दर्द सबसे ज़्यादा समझ सकते.
No, but Deepa, I think you've said in your interviews I've read and I've watched that you've said that Tripura already had a culture of gymnastics and so you were very much a part of that culture, but things must have changed in a very big way after your explosive performance in 2016. What is the situation now?
देखिए आफ्टर 16 बहुत कुछ चेंज हुआ बिकॉज आफ्टर 52 इयर्स के बाद हमने ओलंपिक क्वालिफाई किया था उसके बाद टोक्यो में भी हमारी जिम्नास्टिक इसमें रिप्रेजेंट किया था. अनलकीली इस बार नहीं हुआ क्योंकि हम 2 कंपटीशन खेल ही नहीं पाए थे सम इश्यूज़ के वजह से क्योंकि कुछ क्वालिफिकेशन होते जो पॉइंट्स आते जो हम नहीं पार्टिसिपेट ही कर पाए तो वो कैसे आएंगे. जो भी हुआ एक जो लोगों का माइंडसेट था कि जिम्नास्टिक ऐसा गेम में नहीं जा सकते वो माइंडसेट. और त्रिपुरा में अगर बोलूँ बहुत ज़्यादा चेंजेस एज ए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो ये वॉल्ट आप लोगों ने देखा उसके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा फोम पिट होते वो बहुत ज़रूरी था वो पहले नहीं था. आफ्टर ओलंपिक्स के बाद वो फोम पिट हमारे वहाँ पे बना और ढेर सारे जो इक्विपमेंट है वो आए और बच्चे लोगों ने बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट लेवल बढ़ा. जैसे पहले ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 1-2 सेंटर थे अब हर एक जगह गवर्नमेंट की हो या प्राइवेट हो बहुत सेंटर बढ़े और सबकी सोचे हमें भी ओलंपिक्स जाना है जो पहले नहीं था. तो मेरे हिसाब से आफ्टर रियो ओलंपिक्स बहुत लोगों का सोच बदला जो बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट था.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. Priya, if I could come to you next. You're going to be doing these things, the sort of things that Deepa and Sakshi have done. Fastest quarter miler in India, among the fastest still in 2021, she was the fastest quarter miler, that's 400 meters. And remember the 400 meters is a sort of a special event for India or a category because Usha used to be the absolute queen of that. Fastest quarter miler, but last year you had a horrible chest injury. You corrected me when I said it was a lung collapse. You said it was something called pneumothorax, which Wikipedia nevertheless says is a lung collapse. But that has set you back by a lot, right? You were in, you had a tube inserted in your chest for 5 days. So what is it like? In any case, an athlete's life, all sports people's playing lives are fairly small, but it seems to me that track athletes have particularly small playing lives. So when you have a terrible injury or a terrible setback like this in your prime, how do you come out of it? What do you tell yourself? How do champions think?
No, I think like every person has a different time where you peak. Most average is 24, 25 years. And you have seen Allyson Felix who competed at the age of 35, which motivates me. So this setback will always make me stronger and think for something big ahead. So that's what I think.
No, but how much of training have you lost? I mean, how long have you not been able to train?
No, I didn't train for almost 2 months, but then I came back to IAS and I was able to do, I recovered faster in IAS and I came back to
IAS is the Inspire Institute of Sport, yeah.
And I recovered within 3 months and gradually we went and I was back on track after 3 months, so which was a very good progress. But then when I came down to intensity, there were little complications where my lungs were not expanding fully. So that has been taken care by the Inspire Institute, and they had sent abroad and...
Can we do something about her mic, or you can use the next?
So the time which I have lost is something which I think is a part of learning, which made me stronger, and I interacted with lot of athletes, and the mindset has been changed. So I haven't lost anything, and the next 4 years is very much important. Every day is important. So I think you have to make time for something you want to achieve.
And you're also studying, right? You're one of those few athletes who can manage to do both, right? You're also doing your graduation?
Yeah, in sports management.
Sports management. But I have to tell you that you already have, even before you've hit the big league, you've already inspired people, because I was interviewing a young athlete from Bengal called Hina Rizwana Malik. And she's an interesting character, of course, a 16-year-old who scouted her own coach, somebody that you also trained with at one time. And the reason she scouted her coach on Instagram. And the reason she chose this coach, scouted him, was because Priya Mohan, she said, ma'am, Priya Mohan trains under him, so he must be very, very good. So you've already made... you've already got people watching you, fans, and...
My mindset changed because of Neeraj Chopra's gold medal.
Wow.
We were in a junior camp training for World Junior Championship, and we saw Neeraj Chopra.
When was this?
It was the Junior World Championship, and we were in a training camp. Like after 1 month, we'll have the Junior World. So that Olympic gold of Neeraj Chopra changed our mindset, and it was India's highest 3 medal. We won bronze in mixed relay and 2 silver in walking as well as in long jump, releasing. So that is the moment where the athletics in India, like the mindset of athletes changed, and we thought that it was possible by us.
So this is before 2021 Tokyo? After? Okay. Great, just incredible. Sakshi, I'll come to you, but can we see, I don't know how many of you have seen Sakshi's bronze winning bout in 2016. She actually comes from 0-5. She was trailing 0 and her opponent had 5, and then she overcame that to win. So if we could please have that little edited video.
2 minutes, not long. A lot of points, and again going for the leg, but Malik is watching that leg defense, and she's managed to channel that into a score of 2 points. So some real differences we're noticing here in Malik, and she's trying to turn her over here, got onto her back. That's going to be another couple of points, and just held it for a moment into something approaching a pin position. Have to sustain it for longer than that, but got her into the danger position. So the deficit now just 1, and this is Malik fighting back in the way that she's done all through the day. The way that would position things as Malik is going for it in the last few seconds here. Can she manage to get something here? And she's got it! She's got 2 points right at the very end! Sakshi Malik has just taken the bronze medal in the last seconds of the bout.
Her defeat is hard to take in the wrestling.
Sakshi Malik is absolutely jubilant. She cannot believe that she's won that right at the very end. It should not, in so many ways, come as a surprise, because it is characteristic of how she has battled all throughout this day's wrestling program.
Yeah, I asked you to wait because The joy on Sakshi's face when she sees the Indian flag is something else. But Sakshi, I'm going to read from a book on wrestling called Into the Dangal. No dangals were open for women then, so Chandgi Ram took Sonika and Deepika of his own accord, staging exhibition matches between the two in far-flung villages as Jagdish battled in the main competition. The master had begun his campaign. At 6 in the morning, Papa would sit in front of the phone and start calling coaches and wrestlers all over India, Deepika says. He would say, "Look, the boys in my akhada will only come to your dangal if you allow a girl's bout as well. Just a couple of exhibition matches." He had a lot of patience and a lot of drive. He would call, write letters, and meet people all day with just this agenda: start getting women into wrestling. Dangal organizers were not happy about this. Some refused straight away. Others hesitated because of Chandgi Ram's stature as a wrestler and coach. Yet others had long associations with him and could not refuse out of courtesy. But nowhere were they made to feel welcome. So this is about around 2004. I believe Athens, 2004 was the first time women's wrestling was introduced in the Olympics. So when did you start and how was it? Was it similar to this when you started wrestling?
सबसे पहले तो आपने मास्टर चंदगीराम जी की बात की, तो उन्होंने रेसलिंग लड़कियों की स्टार्ट करवाई, अपनी बेटियों से शुरू करवाई. वरना तो सोच तो यही होती है कि मेरे टाइम तक भी यही सोच थी कि कहाँ लड़कियाँ ये रेसलिंग करेंगी, ये तो लड़कों का खेल है. बड़ा मजाक बनाते थे कि क्या खेल क्या ही है, इसके तो करियर ख़राब हो जाएगा, इससे कौन शादी करेगा, और बहुत सारे तरीके की बातें उठती थी. लेकिन पेरेंट्स ने सपोर्ट किया तो मैंने कंटिन्यू किया. तो अभी जो है बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंट मतलब है.
वो तो आपकी वजह से, पर आपकी शुरुआत कब हुई? 2004 के
मैंने
बाद?
4 में स्टार्ट किया.
4 में
2004 में 2004 में मैंने रेसलिंग स्टार्ट किया. उस टाइम पे भी बहुत लोग यही बोल रहे थे जैसे मैंने बताया, लड़कियों को बिल्कुल नहीं आने देते थे. स्पोर्ट्स तो बहुत दूर की बात है, बाहर ही नहीं निकलने देते थे. तो मेरे मेडल के बाद काफ़ी कुछ मतलब फ़र्क पड़ा.
क्या फ़र्क पड़ा?
पेरेंट्स की बहुत सोच चेंज हुई कि लड़कियां भी कुश्ती खेल सकती हैं और मेडल जीत सकती हैं. मेरे मेडल के बाद बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स मुझसे मिलने आए और बोलते थे कि हम ऐसा क्या करें कि हमारी बेटी आप जैसी बन जाए. तो ये मेरे लिए बहुत प्राउड की बात है कि मैंने कितने इंडियन पेरेंट्स का माइंडसेट चेंज किया कि लड़कियां भी कुश्ती जैसा खेल कर सकती हैं.
और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के हिसाब से क्या बहुत चेंज आ गया?
जैसे एन ओलंपिक ड्रीम है, तो ये एक एथलीट का सपना नहीं होता, ये पूरे परिवार का सपना होता है. और एक एथलीट की लाइफ चेंज नहीं करता, ये पूरे परिवार की, पूरे समाज की, उसके गांव की और बहुत सारे लोगों की लाइफ चेंज होती है इससे. तो मेरे मेडल के बाद जो जिस स्टेडियम में मैं ट्रेनिंग करती थी बिल्कुल टीन की छत थी. और
छोटू राम स्टेडियम रोहतक.
यस. तो टीन की छत थी, बारिश में टपकती थी, धूप में लू आती थी अंदर, तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट था. लेकिन मेरे मेडल के बाद वो एसी हॉल हुआ.
अच्छा.
मेरे गांव में स्टेडियम बना मेरे नाम से जहाँ स्पोर्ट्स होते हैं. तो बहुत मतलब फ़र्क पड़ा. तो जैसा मैंने मेंशन किया कि एक ओलंपिक मेडल कितने सारे लाइफ चेंज करता है. बच्चों को भी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिली है, वो अच्छी फैसिलिटीज़ में ट्रेन कर रहे हैं.
और गांव में अभी दंगल लड़कियों के लिए होते हैं या लड़कों लड़की?
नहीं, बहुत अभी तो बहुत होते हैं. और क्रेज़ इतना बढ़ गया है रेसलिंग का, मतलब हरियाणा में आप सोचोगे नहीं कि रेसलिंग को लेकर करके क्या माहौल है. मतलब आप 10 मिनट दूरी पे जाओगे तो हर एक अखाड़ा है, फिर 10 मिनट दूरी पे फिर एक अखाड़ा है, और हर अखाड़े में लड़कियां हैं. अब ये माइंडसेट नहीं है, नहीं हमारे अखाड़े में लड़कियां नहीं आएंगी वरना हमारे लड़कों को चोट लग जाएगी. ये वो बहुत सारे रूमर्स होते थे कि लड़कियां अपवित्र होती हैं और वो कुश्ती के खेल में नहीं आ सकती हैं. मैंने खुद सुना हुआ है ये चीज़ें कि जिस अखाड़े में लड़की ने ट्रेनिंग करना स्टार्ट किया वो अखाड़ा चल ही नहीं सकता है, क्योंकि जो हमारी रेसलिंग खेल है वो हनुमान जी को बहुत मानती है. और बोलते कि हनुमान ब्रह्मचर्य थे और वो बहुत बल था. तो और अब देखो कि कितना चेंज हुआ है कि पहली बार ओलंपिक में 5 लड़कियां जा रही हैं और 1 लड़का जा रहा है, तो मतलब लड़कियों को इतना दबाया गया कि उन्होंने खुल के बता दिया कि हाँ हम भी कर सकते हैं रेसलिंग में। तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी होती है। मेरे मेडल के बाद कोई ऐसे नहीं जाता कि हाँ मुझे जॉब कर के लिए जॉब मिल जाएगी, मुझे कुछ मिल जाएगा, ये सोच के रेसलिंग स्टार्ट करते हैं मुझे ओलंपिक मेडल जीतना है।
वाह,
और इसका मुझे बहुत खुशी है।
पर जितना मैंने मतलब देखा है फोटो में या वीडियोस में दंगल में, तो लड़के जो होते हैं वो मिट्टी जो बॉडी पे लगा रहता है वो खुद ही उस पे पानी देते, मतलब कोई अलग। आपने जब खेलना शुरू किया तो लड़कियों के लिए कुछ अलग मतलब टॉयलेट या जहाँ पे आप नहा सकती, ऐसा कुछ था कि आप कैसे मैनेज करती थी जब आपने शुरू किया था?
मैंने एक्चुअली मिट्टी में नहीं खेला।
अच्छा,
मेरे टाइम तक जो है प्रॉपर
ओलंपिक
प्रोफेशनल मैट रेसलिंग आ गया था। लेकिन स्टोरी सुनी है, जैसे सोनिका दीदी हैं और भी हैं जिन्होंने मिट्टी में खेला है। तो शुरुआत में तो नई फैसिलिटीज़ थी, कहीं जो टेंट लगे होते थे उनके पीछे जाके चेंज करना प्रॉब्लम्स होती थी, लेकिन टाइम बाय टाइम अभी बहुत।
तो छोटू राम स्टेडियम में लड़कियों के लिए टॉयलेट था?
हाँ,
अच्छा,
हाँ, मतलब
अच्छा।
पहले तो ऐसे कॉमन था, लेकिन उसके बाद जब प्रॉपर तरीके से बना तो प्रॉपर चेंजिंग रूम एंड
आपके बाद?
यस।
वाओ। In my book Parth, this is what I argue as well, that of course the army and the railways have been pillars of support for sport in India, but this trickle of medals that we see from 2008 onwards, and hopefully trickle only becomes something of a brook and then a river. But as I see it, and I've argued that it has come with private funding and push. So, of course, Abhinav Bindra trained himself, but say the 2012, Saina Nehwal. So Nehwal is she's a product of the Gopi Chand Academy. Then we see Sindhu in 2016 and 2021, again another product of the Gopi Chand Academy, and so many others. I mean, perhaps wrestling, and I may be wrong, correct me, is an exception in the sense that it's sort of wrestling and this dangal and akhada culture is a sort of a community thing in the villages. Maybe now it's changing, maybe now it's becoming very professional. But I see the private push as being critical to India's medal success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the way forward for Indian sport is a public-private partnership. I think the reach of the government and the funding that the government can provide, no private sector can compete with. But I like to think of the private sector as adding sugar to the tea. And I think we bring the sports science know-how, the sports nutrition know-how, and we are able to enhance everything that the government can do. And I think the government has understood this, and over the last 10 years, the manner in which the private sector and the public sector are working together. You can look at the TOPS scheme, which is the Target Olympic Podium scheme. You can look at the Mission Olympic Cell that the government has constituted. You can look at Khelo India that the government has started. This is all in consultation with the private sector, and there are several private sector organizations that are working in the field of sport. But one thing that, other than the Inspire Institute of Sport, which is physical infrastructure that has been created, the rest of the private sector are working with the infrastructure that the government has in the country. So I think we need more such centers to come in India. We need at least 10 such centers to come. Every state should have one. And, the government is trying to get people to take over their existing centers as well. So I think, there are two problems in Indian sport. One is that not enough private sector involvement is there even today. There are very few corporates working in it. And the second is that, the federations need to get cleaned up. There's still a lot of politics in federations. And, I think with every passing year, things are improving. I'm very hopeful for the Paris Olympics. I think there has never been a more concentrated effort and a more symbiotic effort between the government and the private sector to prepare our Indian athletes for Paris. And I think the results will show. Having said that, one of the other most important things that India needed, and it started in 2008, was heroes. And we got 3 heroes in 2008, we got 6 heroes in 2012. We got 2 more heroes in 2016. We got the entire hockey team and 6 other medals in Tokyo. And we got a track and field sensation in Neeraj Chopra. So I think each hero inspires the next generation. The reason Bhiwani is a boxing hub is because of Vijinder Singh. The reason entire Haryana women wrestle is because of Sakshi Malik. The reason we can dream about gymnastics medals is because of Deepa. The reason India can even think of winning a medal where all of us heard that, we don't have genes, we don't have this, in a sport like javelin, where you need athleticism to a next level, you need flexibility, you need upper body strength, which everyone told all of us that, you don't have the genes for. And he's winning. He's a serial champion, and now you'll have 3 Indian men's javelin throwers in Paris, so which is incredible.
And Neeraj, he is Subedar. I think he was a Subedar in the Indian Army when he won in 2021. But JSW had a role to play as well, because I think you sent him, or JSW sent him abroad to train. I remember reading in the Indian Express his coach mentioning that. So
no, Neeraj was someone that through our Sports Excellence program we scouted in 2015. It's in that year, actually in 2016, he broke the World Junior Championship. He won the World Junior medal in Poland, where he threw 85 meters. If he had thrown that same throw at the Rio Olympics, he would have won a bronze medal. And then his story keeps getting better, but it's an interesting story actually. Neeraj, the government and SAI changed Neeraj's coach. They brought in Uwe Horn, who is the only man to throw 100-meter plus. And Uwe actually changed his technique, and that resulted in a dislocation of Neeraj's elbow in 2019, after he had won the Asian Games gold medal in 2018. And everyone thought that's the end, because Tokyo was in 2020, and as luck would have it, COVID happened, and he got another year to train. And that's when he recovered from his injury. He spent his time at IIS, and he recovered from his injury and qualified for the Olympics. In COVID, what had happened was that none of the Indian athletes were getting visas to go abroad for training. So we actually wrote to the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, and requested that Neeraj and Bajrang Punia actually get visas on an expeditious basis so that they could make their way to Europe, so that they could start competing in tournaments in the run-up to Tokyo. And the way in which the government sprung into action, got their visas issued, I think they both got Schengen, one got a Schengen visa to France, and the other, Bajrang, went to Russia. And they started competing in tournaments. And they asked me at that time that why these two? And I said, we've been in sport for at that time 9 years, and I believe that these are the 2 best bets for India to win a medal from our stable, and
both won.
As luck would have it, both won. Yeah.
I'm going to end by reading out something from a book, and you don't have to respond to it, but if you feel like responding to it, you can. The gold was won by. In 2008, India won its first gold medal. The gold was won by the rifle shooter Abhinav Bindra, who trained in a custom-built shooting range at home, found his own coach, funded his own training, and prepared for the games almost entirely on his own initiative and money, spending on long training cum competition stints in Europe. A chapter in his memoir is titled Mr. Indian Official, Thanks for Nothing. Just a few days after Abhinav won the medal, the then president of the Indian Olympic Association, at a function to felicitate the shooter, called him Abhilav or Avinash. Soon after, the homepage of the Indian Olympic Association's website opened with a banner which proclaimed, "We are proud of Mr. Suresh Kalmadi, Honorable President of the Indian Olympic Association, for bringing India's first Olympic gold medal." Then a little bit later, I was hanging out, the writer is saying, I was hanging out with the boxers at the new gym, and Vijinder was running on the treadmill when a Clarkish man came in and told him something. This is Vijinder Singh, the boxer. He looked mildly displeased but stopped the treadmill and got off it and began running up and down the room. The administrative head of the Patiala Institute came in and began walking slowly on the treadmill. The system is not broken. It is just not aimed at the athletes. It is designed, curiously enough, for the political leaders who sit at the helm of India's various sports bodies and the Indian administrative service bureaucrats who run the training centers. You're free to, I invite you to comment, but if you don't, that's also fine. It's been an absolute honor doing this conversation with all of you.
I'm happy to comment, but I think the athletes would, I think Sakshi or Deepa may feel more strongly about this, but I think that there's been a sea change in the government's approach towards Olympic sports over the last decade. And I think that those stories are, I'm 100% sure, true. I'm 100%, the reason we at IIS have never accepted any support from the government is purely for that reason, that we don't want any interference in the selection of athletes or the selection of coaches. But if you look at the degree of professionalism that has come into Indian sport, whether you go to the National Institute of Sport in Patiala, or whether you go to the Army Institute of Sport at Balewadi, or whether you go to any high centers, it's every single time it gets better. And now with the advent of social media, these stories will come out in a heartbeat. Athletes are more social media savvy than all of us, and they won't spare anybody.
I'm not sure about athletes and social media, but I just wanted to, I just wanted to say that all of you are champions on and off the field. I kept the focus on sport because it's an Olympic year, but it's incredible what you've done off the field as well. And I think that goes a long way in building a sporting culture as well. To see people you look up to being stand up and speak for what they believe is right. That's it from me, but if any of you want to have a concluding comment.
Okay, मैं एक लास्ट बात बोलना चाहूँगी. मुझे 2012 में JSW ने सपोर्ट करना स्टार्ट किया और मैं बहुत मिडिल क्लास फैमिली से थी. मतलब मैंने ट्रेनिंग स्टार्ट किया था सिर्फ क्योंकि स्पोर्ट्स में इंटरेस्ट था. फिर मुझे किसी ने बताया कि आप फर्स्ट आओगे तो आप हवाई जहाज़ में बैठ के दूसरे देश में जा सकते हो. तो एक सपना था, क्योंकि मैं खुद टिकट नहीं खरीद सकती थी कभी भी, ना फैमिली खरीद सकती थी. तो ये जो सब पॉसिबल हो पाया ये बिकॉज ऑफ JSW, क्योंकि उन्होंने बहुत पहले से मुझे सपोर्ट किया. और JSW इज़ लाइक फैमिली फॉर मी, क्योंकि 12 साल से ऊपर हो गए हैं मुझे JSW के साथ, और हमेशा बहुत बहुत अच्छा लगता है. कभी भी अभी इतना अच्छा प्राउड फील हो रहा है कि ओलंपिक में JSW की जर्सी सब पहनेंगे, क्योंकि सिर्फ मैंने पहनी थी ओलंपिक में, क्योंकि मैं JSW की एथलीट थी. अब सब पहनेंगे, तो ये बहुत प्राउड की बात है. थैंक यू सर, मैम, पाद सर एंड मनीषा मैम ऑल्सो ऊपर बैठे हैं इतनी देर से. तो हर लोगों ने, मतलब बहुत लोगों का सपोर्ट लगता है एक ओलंपिक मेडल के लिए. तो थैंक यू सभी को.
We have a few minutes for questions. Yeah. Is there somebody who can hand out a mic to the gentleman in the second row? So please introduce yourself and then say.
I'm Mudit Jain, a businessman.
And tell us who the question is meant for.
I'm Mudit Jain, a businessman, and question is for the athletes. मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है, स्पोर्ट्स में बहुत बाधा है हिंदुस्तान में, क्या नंबर 1 है, क्या नंबर 2 है, क्या नंबर 3 है? जैसे पॉलिटिकल इंटरफियरेंस, फाइनेंस, क्या माहौल का आपको वो नहीं मिलता है जिज्ञासा की आगे बढ़ो, इन तीनों और भी में क्या है? एंड वन क्वेश्चन फॉर मिस्टर जनरल, क्विक वन. Do you think BCCI, you can persuade them to finance all the sports? They're such a cash-rich body. Thank you.
Deepa, do you want to answer?
Yes, sir. थैंक यू सर पूछने के लिए, क्योंकि कभी हम देखते हैं कि जब तक हम सक्सेसफुल नहीं होते कुछ भी हमें नहीं मिलते एज ए एथलीट. और जिम्नास्टिक्स ऐसे एक गेम था, उस सबको पता है कि पहले तो लड़कियां हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते पहली, और जिम्नास्टिक्स लोग जानते नहीं थे. जब तक सक्सेसफुल नहीं होते कोई भी सामने से नहीं आते. बट अभी जैसे जब भी हमें थोड़ा नज़र मिलते, सिर्फ प्राइवेट जैसे JSW ऐसे सब लोग आ रहे, तो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा थैंकफुल मैं इनको हूँ कि वो लोग सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं अभी ग्रास रूट लेवल पे भी. ये अगर पहले से था तो हमारी ओलंपिक मेडल सिंगल डिजिट में नहीं डबल डिजिट में होता, जो आगे आने वाले ओलंपिक में होने वाले. और इसीलिए मैं सबको बहुत बहुत ऑल द बेस्ट कि आप परफॉर्म करिए और ऐसे ही आगे बढ़ते जाइए, जो भी एथलीट वहाँ पे पेरिस जा रहे, क्योंकि उनके ऊपर आगे आने नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है.
Parth, you want to answer, take on the BCCI?
No, I think the government is funding now through their sports budget and through funding all the federations. I think money is not a handicap. I think it's the expertise and the know-how that is needed, and I think we are seeing improvements every single year. Odisha is a great example. The kind of work the state of Odisha has done for sport in the Kalinga Stadium, where they have roped in, where they are building the infrastructure, and then they've roped in different private sectors to run the sport. So you have JSW running swimming, you have Reliance running track and field, you have ArcelorMittal running gymnastics, you have Dalmia's running badminton, you have Tata's running hockey, you have Vedanta running something, you have Rungta's running the sports science. So what they've done is that they've mandated that part of the CSR funds of each of these large corporates within the state of Odisha go towards sport and go towards high performance sport, which is starting at the grassroots level. So I think Odisha deserves a lot of credit for India winning a medal in hockey, and I think other state governments are also looking at that and are going to imbibe that. But I think money less and less is going to be an issue, because India also is growing so rapidly that I think it's the know-how, the knowledge, and I think every year it's getting better.
So you're saying more professional management and expertise?
I mean, just think about it. At the T20 World Cup final, when India was about to lose to South Africa and then won, you saw an ad of Neeraj Chopra for Bharat Petroleum. Like, can you even imagine? You cannot even imagine 10 years ago that you'll have an Olympian coming in a cricket match in the advertising break. So things are changing. You have Sakshi, you have PV Sindhu, you have Mary Kom. So I think even corporates want non-cricketing stars to come.
The gentleman in the white shirt in the third row. Yeah, we'll come to you later, but if somebody could hand the mic to him. Can we have some women also asking questions, please?
So my name is Ijaz. I represent Somaiya University, and I'm here from the sport department. I'm the director of sport. My question is to you, Parth. Since we all are promoting sports, our dream is to make sure we give a good platform for these athletes. I'm struggling when it comes to what we're talking about, creating infrastructure. Everything is happening, government is happening, corporates are happening. But as you rightly said, that federation is the biggest, if you could use the word, culprit. And there are like many of them. And our athletes are stuck between these guys. So if you play for that federation, you cannot be playing for this. If you play for that guy will not come to be refereeing. So I think we all need to work toward this. Is the key where we are stuck. And as he rightly said that BCCI, why BCCI? Everybody can do work towards it, and the corporate have got CSR fund. So it will happen, but I think we all need to just concentrate on the key area where federation is killing it. Do you have any kind of plan for this, or do you guys have a thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, imagine Deepa just said that 2 Indian gymnasts couldn't participate in 2 tournaments which did not give them points, so that, and they missed out on the Paris Olympics. Whose fault is that? That's the federation's fault, right? Like, there's nobody else to blame for that. So I think federations need to professionalize. There are certain federations that are professionalizing and appointing their own CEOs. I think athletes, because of, the unbelievable struggle that we saw with Sakshi, Bajrang and Vinesh, what they did in the WFI to fight with the WFI. Athletes have a voice today, and I think the sports ministry is also extremely aware. Now, the problem for the sports ministry is that the federations are governed by the Olympic Charter. So when a federation is elected, the sports ministry cannot intervene, because that would lead to the country getting banned. So it's a bit of a diplomacy game. The Indian Olympic Association has to play a very big role. The IOC member, Mrs. Ambani, has to play a much bigger role. And so does the government. So everyone together needs to work to make sure that the federations professionalize. And you'll see that the federations that win medals, they'll get rewarded now. And that will make sure that other federations want to win medals. And you cannot win medals if you run a mom and pop shop. So I think it's a matter of time, and things are getting better.
Can I quickly ask one more? Again, the training is the big issue, where I feel like football is the only organized sport, if I may say that rightly, where we have structured, though India
So
is...
if you could just make it short.
Quickly, okay, fine. When it's come to training, we don't have training centers. Like, there is no coaching centers where I could proudly go and like just say that I've done a course in this and I'm a coach. So it just goes on generation. I've been a marker, I've become a coach now, and I'm the coach. I've played for India, so I'm a coach. So there's nothing like this. I think if that works on, India will be rocking. So if you have anything on that, please.
I agree with you completely. I think coaching the coaches is more important than, because one coach can impact at least 1,000 children. So it's extremely important. I agree.
The gentleman in the green shirt had a...
Thank you. My name is Sunil Mehta, and I'm a board member of the Asia Society. So my question is to Parth and also to the athletes. As you sort of progress on building the infrastructure, sports infrastructure, one big element is the sports medicine piece. Athletes do get injured. They need to have the appropriate support system if they get injured. Do you think there is an adequate infrastructure on the sports medicine side, or there's still a lot of work to be done? And if so, who's filling in that slot of making sure that we have a timely intervention when sports athletes get injured?
I think maybe Priya, you can answer that first, if I may.
I guess my incident was very critical. If it was not timely intervention, my lungs would have seriously collapsed and I would have been in a critical position. And the doctor inside, he took my X-ray, and the operation was done on in the mid of the night. So the JSW has been doing really well, that we have everyone on site, the doctor, the physio, the sports science, and the recovery has been amazing. And I came within 3 months after my lungs were collapsed. So that is why that is what I want to say. But then it has to be available for everyone, like to the grassroots level. In every center we need such things. So that is what I want to tell.
Parth, you wanted to say?
No, I think this is definitely an issue. There's no hiding that there is a lack of knowledge on sports medicine, and you can count the sports medical specialists on one hand in India. And we see that even for complicated injuries, we have to send our athletes abroad. In India, I would say the biggest institution in sports medicine is Dr. Dinshaw Padiwala. I think he's probably he's operated, I don't know, twice, Sakshi, Neeraj, I mean, I don't know, Deepa maybe, I don't know. But so I think there's an understanding of this gap now. In 2016, I remember when I had gone for my first Olympics to watch the athletes. The team doctor of the Indian team, the biggest remedy for anything was inko Combiflam de do. You know? From that, now you have Dr. Dinshaw Padiwala as the head of the team, medical expert, escorting the contingent for the whole time. So there's a sea change in what's happening, but we need many more Dr. Padiwalas. We need many more in every city. And where do they study? Where do they learn this field? There's a gap. We don't have the right medical, universities or institutions for sports specific in India. And again, you see a lot of people in this field coming who've studied in Australia or in England or in the US coming back to India, but we need a lot more.
So yeah, hi, I'm Akhil Mehta.
There were a couple of people who were waiting to ask questions. How many questions can we take? Last question. Okay. So we'll give it to the lady in orange.
Sakshi. This on? Can you hear me? हेलो
साक्षी जी, दीपा जी, आप दोनों ने बहुत अच्छे से समझाया कि आपके मेडल से इस देश में लड़कियों की एथलेटिक कंपटीशन की विचारधारा कैसे बदली है। मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रही थी कि आपको क्या लगता है इसके अलावा हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं कि कैसे एक तरह की स्थिति बनाएं कि जैसे हर एक लड़का का सपना होता है ना कि मैं बड़े होके एथलीट बनूंगा, क्रिकेट खेलूंगा, फुटबॉल खेलूंगा, तो लड़कियों के लिए भी बराबर वही सोच, सेम ऑप्शन। छोटी छोटी चीज़ें जो हैं वो छोटी चीज़ें क्या हैं जिसकी वजह से लड़कियों को हर मोड़ पे ऐसा सपोर्ट लगे कि हम भी कम्पीट करेंगे।
जैसा कि मैंने आपसे भी डिस्कस किया तो एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट बात है जो हमने पूरे प्रोटेस्ट के दौरान भी बोली थी कि जो फेडरेशंस हैं उनमें वुमेन की भागीदारी नहीं है। ये सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट बात है। कम से कम 50% भागीदारी और एक ओहदा होना चाहिए कि जो लड़कियां किसी भी स्पोर्ट्स में कर रही हैं वो कोई भी प्रॉब्लम लेके इजीली फेडरेशन के पास जा सके। हमारा मेन रीज़न ये था कि जो ऊपर बैठा था वही हैरेसमेंट करता था, कोई वुमेन थी ही नहीं कि जाके बताने के लिए कि ये हो रहा है लड़कियों के साथ, जूनियर लड़कियों के साथ। तो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि फेडरेशंस में वुमेन की भागीदारी होनी ही होनी चाहिए।
और दीपा जी, आप क्या कहेंगी आने वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ क्या है?
देखिए, मैं यही कहूँगी कि मैं नहीं सोचती हूँ कि लड़का और लड़की में अभी फ़र्क रहा है बहुत। अभी भी मैंने ऊपर देख रहा था जब बता रहे थे कि 50-50 इस बार ओलंपिक्स में मेल फीमेल दोनों बराबर है। तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा देख के, और स्पेशली साक्षी ने जब बोला 5 लड़कियां और 1 लड़के, तो वो देख के अभी बताने वाली बात ही नहीं रहा कि हम कहीं पीछे हैं। तो मुझे लगता है बॉयज़ से गर्ल्स ज़्यादा आगे बढ़ चुके हैं और शायद इस पेरिस ओलंपिक में हमें देखने को वो चीज़ भी मिलेगा। थैंक यू।
I see that one of the gods of sports writing, Ayaz Memon, is here. So, if I could request you to say something or address the discussion we've had briefly.
just want to say, I mean, look, to see such a wonderful assembly of people, that means there is something happening about sports in India which is positive and which is very encouraging. And you know, when you've got athletes like Sakshi and Deepa and Priya, and of course Parth has put his shoulder behind the wheel for a long while now. And look, I think there's nothing which brings the country together better than sport. You know, just kind of it gets. You saw what happened in Mumbai for the Cricket World Cup team, lakhs and lakhs of people on the streets, and it gives. I think it increases the health quotient and the happiness quotient of the country. You know, so our athletes winning medals and our athletes going out and proving to the world that we are as good as anybody else is a great sense of pride for us, national pride. And I think we need to take care of our athletes. I'm completely in agreement with Sakshi and Deepa that, you know, you can't become a sporting nation if 50% of a population is not involved, which is the females. The
and
girl
what
child.
can we do from the media? You think that we should look at things other than cricket as well?
Yeah,
And we are beginning to do that, of course.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, you know, the more you see of the athletes on screen, cricket has an advantage that it is just played for so long in terms of time. You know, even a T20 game is 4 hours. So the sheer presence of faces, a Dhoni or a Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, seeing those guys constantly, so the identification is greater. Neeraj Chopra's entire event might, you know, is over in minutes. I mean, the whole process might take long, but his own participation is. So I think we need to, that sensibility has to develop in our audience. Cricket is so popular because everybody wants to read about it and see it. So, and it's a long legacy to kind of erase overnight. I think we just need to write more. There are so many great stories in Indian sport, you know, which need to be played up.
Thank you.